And this is the story, the real story, of what happened to my older brother. All this happened when I was 12 and Jacob was 16. It was after Mom's affair, when she and Dad thought that they could put our family back together if we found some place to start over. Mom and Dad quit their jobs, pulled Jacob and I out of our school, sold our stake in the co-op where we had lived, and bought a dilapidated place out in the country. They had a whole plan that we'd bond over renovating the place ourselves, and somehow that would fix everything. The house had a finished basement with this god-awful puke-colored wallpaper. To this day, I get nauseated if I encounter that shade of green, and Dad had put Jacob and me to work tearing it down. We were fucking around, arguing about Star Wars and threatening to spray each other with the hot water solution. I could almost forget how fucked up our family had been for the last year, how viciously Jacob had bullied me. So maybe there was something to my parents' idea. Jacob suddenly stopped what he was doing and frowned over my shoulder. I laughed and didn't turn. I wasn't about to fall for that again, but the tone in his voice changed my mind. "Mark," he said, "was that door there before?" I turned around, still half expecting to get hit in the back of the head with a wet sponge, and was surprised to see that there was, in fact, a door in the wall across the basement from us. I frowned too and told him that I didn't remember there being a door there. Then I laughed and said, "You're fucking with me." I remember that clearly because that was the last exchange I had with my brother before everything went to shit, and stayed shitty for a very long time. Jacob ignored my incredulity and walked over to the door. He put his hand on the knob. I remember that it was a really old-fashioned faceted glass knob, different from the tarnished brass knobs on every other door in the house, and pulled the door open. I got a glimpse of a dim-tiled room before the door shut behind him. I heard Jacob moving around in there for a while, some low cursing, and then Jacob told me that he had found a bathroom. "It's really gross," he said. "The tiles are, crusty with this brown shit, and the only light is just a bulb hanging from a wire like at a truck stop." I don't remember how I replied, but it was pretty obvious that Jacob didn't hear me. A moment later, he called out, "Fuck, the door's stuck." I think that was the moment I started to realize that something was really, truly wrong. The mysterious door wasn't much of a problem for me. I already knew that my brain was a lump of fuck. I could sit through a lecture about my favorite school topic, fully intending to take notes, only to realize that the only thing I'd thought about for a whole 45 minutes was the tits that Marianne Radcliffe had grown over the summer. If you told me that I hadn't noticed an elephant sitting in the middle of the basement, I would have believed you. So the idea that I could have missed a door wasn't all that unnerving. The thing was, though, that Jacob said that the door was stuck, which meant that he had tried it, but I hadn't seen the doorknob on my side do so much as a jiggle. Anyway, I did what any semi-reasonable 12-year-old would do. I went to get my dad. Mom and Dad had obviously been arguing while they worked on the master bedroom. Maybe that's why they had sent us to work downstairs in the basement, so he was happy for an excuse to come down, even though he looked like he didn't really understand or believe what I was saying. By the time we got downstairs, the door was gone. My dad immediately jumped into full rage monster mode, demanding to know what was going on, but ranting about how I was wasting time before I had a chance to answer. I was sure I was about to get a smack, but then we both heard Jacob's voice, sounding thin and far away, and very, very scared. "Are you guys out there? Can anyone get the door open?" To his credit, Dad immediately got to work pulling down the wallpaper on that section of the wall. He may have had some serious issues, but he did love his kids, and he loved us more than he loved the idea of living in a universe that was safe and sane and rational. He had the wallpaper off in no time, but all that stared back at him was drywall. He went back upstairs without a word, leaving me alone with the blank wall and Jacob's faint voice. He was describing the room he was in. I don't know why. Maybe he thought it would help us find another way in. The whole room is covered in tiles, white on the floor and sort of pink on the walls. There's a door and a window, but they're both stuck. The glass in the window is so filthy that I can't make out anything outside, just a little light coming through. And there's a sink, but the water doesn't run. There's a toilet, but it's dry and crusted, like someone took a mega dump in there like 5 years ago. There's a shower too, but no shower curtain, and the shower's head is completely rusted over, and there are rust stains going down the wall and all over the bottom of the tub. He might have said more, but he was drowned out by the sound of our parents coming downstairs. Dad's footsteps were angry and determined, and Mom sounded like she was balanced between panic and annoyance. What do you mean Jacob's stuck in the wall, Charles? Why do you have a sledgehammer? What's going on? Dad went right up to the wall where I'd showed him the door was and just went to town on it, slamming the sledgehammer home again and again with a fury I didn't know he possessed, and I'd seen him lose it. The sound was heavy, solid, not hollow at all. Soon the drywall was coming away in chunks, revealing the concrete beneath. When Dad saw that, he started pulling it away with his bare hands. The concrete was painted. The pictures were simple, angular, and stylized, kind of like hieroglyphics or Mesopotamian art. It was laid out like a comic book, going from right to left instead of left to right. A young man was led to an altar and stripped naked. He lay down, apparently completely of his own free will. The priests, I guess they were priests by the fancy clothes and headdresses they were wearing, were doing all sorts of things I couldn't explain around the altar, while the young man, the sacrifice, just lay there. And the angels came down from the sky. I say angels, but I don't know. They had a basically human shape and wings, and they were wearing long, ornate robes, kind of like what the priests were wearing, but their heads and necks were like vultures. They descended around the man on the altar and started to carry him back with them to heaven. Not all at once, though. They took him away in pieces. An arm, a leg, some unidentifiable viscera. They took his head last, and the wide-open mouth and eyes made it look like the head was still alive. We stopped, staring at the wall, not sure what to do next. Then Jacob started singing. His voice was stronger now, no longer thin or afraid, but I couldn't understand the words. They weren't in English or any other language I have ever heard, then or since. Jacob hadn't been a singer, but his voice was suddenly rich and perfectly tuned. And then, at last, we heard the wing beats. Mom started crying. Dad screamed and went back to work with a sledgehammer. All I could do was stand there and listen. The singing didn't ever seem to stop. It just got quieter and quieter, until we couldn't hear it anymore. As though Jacob was walking away, or being carried away. We didn't last long after that. We didn't stay in the place. They sold it, and Mom and Dad split up pretty quickly. Dad started drinking again. Mom joined some kind of wacky Jesus cult, and I ended up living with Aunt Jay. Dad finally managed to kill himself by driving his drunk ass off the side of a mountain, and Mom disappeared into a commune in Colorado somewhere. I never heard from her again. Nobody mentioned Jacob, but we knew. To this day, there are shades of green I can't look at. I get panic attacks if I run into a picture of a vulture. And every time I'm alone in a room, I find myself waiting for the strong, slow, whooshing noise of impossibly large wings.